A small carburetor.
Extracurricular activities, martial arts, swim, dance, and yes, cheer. When we take that away, thinking I'm punishing you by taking that away, we're actually taking away.
Okay, right now I'm cleaning a small carburetor. I just finished, but I put it back together, so I'm gonna do from start to finish. These are normally inside of weed eaters, lawnmowers. No, I'm sorry. Weed eaters, blowers. What else? Chainsaws, trimmers. And what I do is basically just take all the screws out. There are several gaskets inside of the small carburetor, so with that being said, you have to be very careful with placement.
So see, really, when you look at it, it ain't gonna go back. It won't go back unless you put it back the way it came out.
And the thing about them is that they won't go back unless you put them back how it goes. It will not. It won't fit. So basically, this is one of the gaskets. This is what you see in the inside on this side. So the first thing I'm gonna pull out is this screw. If you notice, this flap is coming up with it because it's attached to a spring. Once you get that out, everything's gonna pop out, but I try to keep my hands on it so everything won't fall out. You get about 4 parts out of here, including that screw. Do not lose the spring, which I just lost. Got it? Okay, one more time. Got it? This little spring. The little piston. That's why that spring is in there. All these are little holes. I have my handy dandy tool, which can be anything from a parts store, or if you're sufficient like us, we actually use bread ties, zip ties, like the bread ties. I got my carbon choke cleaner, O'Reilly Special. My motto is to keep your eyes back and spray the hell out of it. Make sure that carbon choke cleaner gets all the way up in there. And I use this and I try to go through everything that has a hole. Get in there, spin it around, clean it out. Sometimes you have to go ahead and rebend it back. And there are really, really small holes in there. So sometimes the bread tie will not work for some carburetors, but this one, it works great. I get in there, spray the hell out of it. My method is that I don't take it all the way apart. I just take one side apart first, and then I do the other side. Pretty simple. Right now, what I'm gonna do is attach my blower. Hopefully, if the air tank doesn't come on, it will not drown me out while I'm trying to talk to you.
Huh?
Blower. I have my blower here. I'm gonna go ahead and attach it to the compressor. Please be careful when you're using the blower because you could blow all your small parts away. So I try to make sure I turn it towards what I'm working on versus towards my screws and valves and all those things. It works very efficient with getting all those small particles and dirt and old grass and everything that's inside out. Once I've done that, the next step is just putting it back together. You do everything in reverse. My method is first grabbing this little piece. I put the throttle, the little piston back in. Make sure it's slid appropriately. It's very, very sensitive, so it will pop off every now and then, but it's fine. You just pick it up, put it back in there. The most difficult part about this is this little spring. Making sure the spring is in there the right way. I usually try to do the 2-prong hole. Put the spring right up under there. See, it's a little gap right there. Put the spring there, sit it down. Ah. This would normally be done with some needle nose pliers because the parts are so small. Ta-da! You have one screw that holds all this down. It actually sits on top of the rod. Grab a little screwdriver here. Put him back in. My motto is if any of the gaskets are worn or too dirty or too damaged, any parts are loose on the gasket itself, go ahead and replace the gasket. Gasket kits, local lawnmower parts store, even O'Reilly's. And if you look here, you know it's sitting on the spring because you can see that piston moving back and forth. I'm gonna give it one small turn, but you don't want to try to strip that screw out. Everything goes back on in reverse. When you put the gasket down, this wheel should not be turned towards here. It should be laying down like this. See? And everything matches and lines back up here. All right, so you got everything lined back up, everything back together. Spray the heck out of it. Make it I like to make pretty parts even though they work efficiently. Go ahead, put your screws back in. I never tighten all of my screws until I have all of them lined up and in. So make sure all of them are lined up first because you don't want to strip any screws. The importance of that is like, you could end up being very livid, meaning mad as hell. So go ahead and try to make sure that you're not stripping any screws. Tighten everything back down. On small carburetors, I prefer to hand screw everything versus using a drill because you could get it too tight and you don't need it that tight. Your hand works just fine. All right, that's side one. Side two is fairly simple. This was the harder side because of those gaskets. Go ahead, untighten this one screw. My method to my madness of how to keep everything together, line it all back up. There's only one way that it can go. So it goes on like that, comes off, pop, pop. And this is actually 2 gaskets. It's a blue film and a black gasket all together. That's the inside. Again, spray the hell out of it. Keep it away from your eyes. Really funny, carburetor and choke cleaner will clean the nail polish off of your nails. Just a little small talk. But I'm gonna go ahead, use again my handy dandy little scrubber here. You don't have to take this out, which is basically just a filter. But if it's dirty, I suggest replacing it. It's also a hole behind that. And again, any holes you see, make sure you're using your little wire to clean all of them out. Make sure you're not seeing any grass or anything that will stop this carburetor from performing properly. All right, I'm gonna spray the hell out of it one more time. Take my blower. The guys around the shop are very proficient. They don't need a blower, they just blow into it, but I don't like my lips tingling, so the blower works fine for me. Alrighty. Again, it's sufficiently clean. If you don't remember how they go, match them back up. It's only one way that it could go. If I turn it this way, the holes are not going to match up. So, you know, stupid is as stupid does. Let's go ahead, put it back together. Make sure that you put your little filter back in. Sometimes it takes a little bit of conjuring. Bow bow. You got it. Let's go ahead and get everything back together. Part is pretty clean, so there's no blowing or anything necessary for this. So I'm gonna throw it back on because I just cleaned it myself, so it's fine. Sticks right onto those little thumbs there. Lay it back down. Should hear a little pop if you got it on there properly. Put your screw back in. This is actually a Walbro. Get that screw in there real good. Last thing, I would actually spray this hose, which is the gas line where the gas goes into the carburetor. Lips tingle. See, and it comes out on the other side. Okay, cool beans. That's the destruction and rehab of a Walbro carburetor for small equipment, small lawn equipment. Thank you for taking the time out to watch this. It's pretty clean, and have a good day.